Hi,
Hello.
Hello.
how are you?
Good, good. I like your hat.
It's cold here.
It's a good idea. Next time I also have my problem is my forehead. It's so huge. It's like a light bulb. Look, I don't need a reflector. It reflects light. So I want to have like a hat covering my forehead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Who is iPad? Is it me? No.
I
No.
had two. I think either is
Oh, there are two iPads. There's Jeff and
yeah.
Laura.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
It's artist. It's artistic. It's artistic.
Are you sure?
It's autistic. It's autistic. Yeah, I think it's more autistic than artistic. Yeah.
It's a filter, but it's like a plug-in or what does it do?
Oh, it's the background. It's
Oh,
the
it's a
green
background
screen.
more.
The green screen. It's a green
Yeah.
screen background, but I just try it because
Yeah.
a friend of mine.
Yeah, you are trying everything during our talk. We know that.
Yes. Experimentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will be experimenting Kik also one day.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I can turn it off.
Yeah,
Oh,
please.
I can't see. It's so scary.
Yeah.
We
It's
are
very
recording
scary.
this, so
Yeah.
Being recorded, right?
Yes.
Oh,
next time maybe you try naked.
and with the
Body
follow
paint.
with the follow, yeah. Okay, I have to work on this. Okay, so let me get back into.
We shouldn't allow young people
Yeah.
on the chat.
There's young people in the room. What?
You're too young. You're too
You
young.
hit. Yeah. Cool. So we have.
So anyway, yeah, I'll try to adjust it. Don't worry.
Now it's only your face is being blurred. Let me see if
Christine will be coming.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should be.
Yeah. So maybe we can I want to introduce to what you just wrote on the community bench. Can I introduce?
Yeah, if you want, or if anyone else wants to say something.
Okay.
Regarding email of yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically there are two ideas that we want to share. One is that about a test bench. I don't exactly know this title is from you, so I guess it's like kind of a pitch of your project idea. If you have an idea that you want either collaborate with other people or you want to introduce this idea, not necessarily yours. It can be like your friend or you heard about this project, like open call of some foundation that not necessarily yours, but you want to share this and probably collaborate with other people. That's the idea and point of sharing. You can propose by writing us an email before the gathering and say, hey, like I heard about this project or this is my new project. I'd like to know what other people are thinking about it. Then if we'll propagate the idea, if there are more than, let's say, 2 persons are interested, including us, I mean, I'm always interested in new projects. So then we can propose it in the community talk and then to see how we can help each other either brainstorm the idea or come together to make the project come true, something like that.
Yeah, so the proposal is during the community talk and by email. And if more than one person is interested, so if there's only one person interested,
we can give the contact.
Directly the contact. Yeah. And if someone else, more than one is interested, then we organize another talk. It's not a get-together talk, but another talk.
Okay, so then okay, so we can do like an extra talk just for this project.
Yeah, someone has a precise project, and it doesn't have to be his or her project.
Yeah.
It can be something they want to push.
Yeah, big example.
So
That's called test bench.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
Maybe it's
the
not
name has to be changed.
Yeah, I don't know how to, because it's not really a project proposal, because
It is.
you're not proposing
It is.
your project, because proposal sounds like your
It
project.
can be.
Like it's more like a collaborative proposal, like you
It
want.
can be.
Yeah.
But Jeff had a proposal.
Yes. Last time
Yeah.
he stayed a little longer and told us the idea that he had around showing art or lending or renting or showing art in a corporate environment like offices, hotels, businesses, alternative to galleries and museums. So it's a bit like offbeat, but also accessible to the public and legal. So it's not like a street art or vandalism or anything like that. It's underground, but it's not underground. It's more like offbeat, the underground alternative. So basically the project is about having this platform that put artists together with businesses. I feel that already you told me there is already a company called Arctic who
Arctic is the best example that I've seen that seems legitimate.
Yeah.
And working on both sides of providing art for hotels, and then opening up a artist side where artists can apply to them and get their work rented. So this is actually, I learned a lot in the month, and Arctic is the best example. It's called ARTIQ. And
exactly. So I'm going to visit this Arctic site. It's a Hilton hotel, London.
Wow. By coincidence.
I searched the list of Arctic, and I searched wherever that is nearest to where I will go. And there's one site in London that is literally 3 minutes from the hotel I booked. I was hesitating between Hilton or another. Both 4-star. The one I booked was a little cheaper, being the same rating. So my friend booked Hilton. So I will be basically visiting anyways 3 minutes in London.
Great.
Next to the Bell Street, where Ai Weiwei will be showing his solo in February. So we're going both separately, both to the inauguration and Ai Weiwei as well. So that's like the plan.
Well, I'm sure if you offer Arctic a private deal with Ai Weiwei Prince or something like that, they would. I don't think
it's a good fit, because Ai Weiwei is very.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah,
but
exactly. It's very political.
Basically,
so,
can I just say that the ideas start with a corporate art model, basically, which I'm familiar with, but not really familiar with. I have met before in my life a art dealer who told me that they were a corporate art consultant, but I never had any direct experience with working with anybody like that. So the ideas start with the people there, and obviously when you dig into it, there is a way that these people connect with each other, and it's very interesting to me because it basically means a lot of the artists that don't qualify maybe, or are not groovy or famous or valued enough to show in a gallery, still have a model perhaps in which they can get their work out of their studio onto some wall somewhere. So that's how it starts, and then Arctic is the best example I find of somebody that's doing that. So it's a potential area to explore, I think.
Yeah. Last time when we meet, I already told Jeff there's one company in Madrid called Sibarist. It's a high-end real estate dealer, a realtor, and they basically have a lot of fancy $1 million houses and business premises for sale. And before they were selling it, they're showing it and to make it look nice and give the space to artists to show their art and perhaps become a art dealer as well. So they have opened this branch of showcasing art in high-end apartment with inauguration, promoting both the artist and real estate, well, and themselves as well. So it's like also a win-win situation, but it's very small scale because they are only having this apartments. They are not having a unlimited amount, and it's very local. It's very site specific. So it's also an interesting model. Basically, you have space available, and you just want to share and use. And I think the main bottleneck is the business. Like you need to already have the contact to the businesses with space.
I agree. I agree. You have to have the clients
So
before,
it depends on who is your client.
because, well, yes, I mean, of course, if you had a very rich artist that just wanted to get their work into play, but mostly I think the artists are the one that the venues, the hotels, the businesses are the ones in control. So you have to have a relationship with them because they are the one that wants, that might, but the artists are the ones that are more hungry and that have, that have the work, but it's not a balance. You need to have the top has to be in charge, in the business owner of this operation, or the curator or the consultant has to have relationship with some kinds of owners, hotels, corporate, condos, blah, 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 like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a fantasy, I think.
I have a question about it, and so you had the pitch, and it's written, and I will propose it if you.
Oh yeah, sure. It's very right.
My question is, you want to launch it yourself, or it's just a small talk?
Or to have more people interested to launch it together?
Yes, sure. I mean, yes, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not a business-minded person. But I think that it's not a waste of time to explore this model, especially in terms of our 2 months ago talk about with the social practice, where we have a friend who invented his own company. Basically, he invented his own job. It's quite inspiring. And he's recycling. He's recycling unused resource. The unused resource is the ability for an artist to come into a corporate factory and offer something that the factory might want. It's like, it's an unused, it's recycling resource, in my mind, upcycling something that's just laying around, like a poet putting poetry into a factory. That before that, it was unused. So in the same way, you have a lot of art in the world that's unused, and there's a lot of walls that are blank, right? So rather than, go from the highbrow concept of every art that gets hung on a wall has to be curated and paid for and valuable and blah, blah, blah. Go down from there into just put it on the, find a wall and put some art there,
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. So after between and the talk, and after last month you told me this idea, we picked up a project we previously had from like maybe 2 years ago, but we really want to launch it as well. So maybe I take the opportunity to do a mini pitch.
Maybe someone else has something.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. I'll stop talking and.
No. It's about us.
Because I was thinking to propose with 1 minute our project as well.
Okay.
Because it's kind of linked. It's about showcasing your art. So we want to.
Can I just cut, because I want to be a bit troublesome. The fire is finished. It's
the fire. No, it's okay. It doesn't bother me.
No, the fire.
I can't figure out your pink. You're talking about my pink?
Yeah.
I can't figure out how to take it off now.
But it's okay.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It was on your face. The problem.
Yeah.
The fire,
Now it's not.
the fire in LA.
Now it's the
The
Oh,
fire.
you're asking somebody else. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, Anna.
Controlled.
The repercussions of the fires in LA, if you're just looking for my personal update,
Yeah, for you,
It's-
because the last time you were writing about it, it could have been going on your way.
yeah, no, they stopped it. It was, pretty far, but it's affected so many artists. So my social media feeds are just completely filled with artists who lost everything, and they
Yeah.
lost their studio, they lost their work, they lost their home. And so everybody in Southern California is doing shows that are related to helping the fire victims, especially the artist community, because both of those communities were very artistic, but especially the inland one. A lot of artists lived there, and because they were older homes, not quite as valuable as the ones on the coast, which were very much more valuable. But so it's interesting. It's a little bit hard to think about doing projects now in my area because it almost feels like you have to wait some time before a tragedy like this, before you can do something else,
Mm.
So that's just the update, but we're totally fine. My son's fine.
Oh.
It's hard. It's living in the city is hard. He's realizing it. It's a big city.
Yeah, but one thing about it is I think in Italy is the same. But for us in Europe, because 80% of the media is from the US, like 80% of the communication is in the US. Sometimes we have something happening in the next region, and it's not as important as if it's happening in LA, because all the
Wow.
news is about the US on the internet. And we had something in Valencia, like
The Dana, yeah, the flood,
inundation.
yeah.
And the same, there were many artists and they lost. And I link it with the project of Jeff. More and more, there are cities with big problems like that. And I have a friend in Madrid working in international insurance, and it's happening a lot and a lot and a lot. Not just in Africa like before in Pakistan, or I don't know. Noise is happening in
Around the world more.
in countries with more rated the more stable climate. And the problem is if you put art and art and art everywhere, and it's not safe because it can happen a storm, a fire, and more, then I think these kinds of projects will be less and less relevant because you need to take care of the insurance.
It's not relevant. It's harder to implement.
Yeah, it doesn't work because it's
are
just a
you-
counter argument.
Not
So-
if it's regional.
Since you're such an intellectual, so can
That's a
you
question.
figure out a way to combine these things, like insurance? Like, do you see a way to intellectually raise this subject within this?
Maybe we should put artists in insurance company, and maybe they have an artistic project there.
I mean,
Like
I like
Alessandro.
this. I like this radical approach. Like in the art speak, it always works to get like around the corner idea into it. So like insurance art, like what I mean, like insurance as art, or insurance art, or
art is already an insurance of the blue chip galleries of the rich trying to not get
and storage is
already
and storage,
an insurance in some way.
And as you mentioned last time about like even storage is located sometimes in places which you mentioned have a tax haven for like the really big storage companies are. I don't know, you know more about it, but so can you think of a way to like leverage this intellectually into like, okay, we can think about that.
It's
like,
too radical for me. It's like my head is like and
no, I think there's something. Okay, okay.
Yes.
So can I do like my 1 minute pitch? I would just say,
Can I ask a question to
Yeah.
Adna as well? I wanted to ask, like, as I understand, she's scared to seem like insensitive because subject is so big, so many damage happen. Is there, because in Turkish media, I saw like some celebrities lost their houses there. So poor people are like, yeah, who cares what's happening in LA? Like there's Palestine, all that sub in the left media, there is like different discourse going on. Is it the same in the States? Like, or it's like because of them already, because Kim Kardashian was using private jets to eat a cheesecake in another city. So that's what happened. It's normal they lose their houses. But also there's this huge neighborhood for homeless people. What's it called? Like, I forgot its name.
Skid Row.
Yeah, I think so. I totally forget. So there are like some other political people are saying no, homeless people were there too. So can you give a bit of like insight from that?
There was that criticism also from people saying, oh, well, the people in Malibu and the Palisades, they lost their second home or their fourth home, you know, and so who cares about them? Some of the artists are saying, well, all the art burned up off their walls too. And there were major things, major artworks that were lost, definitely, in those wealthy homes. But people realize that, okay, along with the celebrities, a lot of other people are hurt. You know, they're talking about all the people who worked for those celebrities. They have house managers, they have housekeepers, they have gardeners, they have security people. All of those people are out of jobs now because all those very wealthy homes were lost. But even in the Palisades, there was a whole sort of middle class neighborhood that burned to the ground. Um, you know, and it's hundreds of houses in that middle class neighborhood. And everybody realizes too that because we don't have enough houses being built in the United States, especially in big cities, it's going to affect everybody because all those people who lost their homes, now they go out and have to rent, and then they push other renters out, and those other renters have to become homeless. So there's definitely talk about how it affects all stratas of the economic ladder, not just those wealthy people who had their own private fire companies, which couldn't stop the fire either. You know, nothing could stop it. It was just a freak accident of
What-
weather. Not being a freak accident, everybody realizes it's connected to climate change, and that kind of tragedy can go anywhere. It can come any place in the whole world. You know, places like Valencia that didn't have floods before. And I watched those. It was here in the news. I was watching that news, Spanish, you know, those people just like the cars just floating down the streets and just horrible, you know. So I think
There was flood. There are frequently, like every 10 years, there's a flood like that.
but this one is like every 65, this big one. But yeah, flood can happen
No.
in the region.
There's a special name for that in Valencia. So it happens
But not
Sure.
like to this scale. This
every
is-
10 years,
Yeah.
like 3 meters water. And it's more a problem of a dam of it's more architectural problem that like design problem of a city because they build
we built in the
inside-
valley where the
inside the
water
river.
could go.
And the companies are making mining, and when they mine, they stock the mud upstairs to the city, and then it's like a dam, and then the flood broke the dam. But then it's private company
Yeah.
working with the state,
So-
and it's complicated. It's not really the water, and it's happening. It can happen this every like we talk with our neighbor in Alicante who have this problem as well. Like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, more like 15. Before we came to Spain, we had a huge flood as well.
So it's the non-respect of the floor as well, because the
Human modification
the-
of the terrain and the nature.
they got all the chemical product
Mhm.
from the mining on the
Mhm.
city, and this they don't tell that much.
Well, they say
Yeah.
it's water, but what's inside the
Yeah.
water is
Mm.
also half of our own fault of the development, the exploitation.
How can I ask? How did it? The Turkey you mentioned Turkish people had homes in LA, or what was that? It came up in,
Celebrities, but not just Turkish celebrities. Most of the foreign celebrities has home in LA, so
Yeah.
there's this political approach to this disaster. Yeah, it was their fault, so whatsoever. But yeah, I was like, as Anna mentioned, there's like many other dimensions of that
And I think it
situation.
will be really interesting to see how the artists respond, not only to the natural disasters that's happening, for example, also in North Carolina, there was flooding where it was Ashland, I think, Asheville, and it was a big artist community that was completely decimated. But also just to see how artists are going to respond to Trump, you know, who is just slashing and burning everything. And I think we're sort of overwhelmed right now, but I'm hoping that it leads to a resurgence of political art, social art that definitely is not going to go in corporate hotel rooms. But I one of the things I wanted to say in terms of like having art in places that are not galleries, more and more we're seeing even up in my rural place, hospitals and medical emergency rooms and medical rooms are showing art in their waiting rooms. And there are arts groups that are actually, approaching these places to put their art up. I don't know if it leads to, sales or anything like that, but that's something it's sort of good. That seems to be the kind of place that is willing to show art more than, say, a bank, a hotel, um, those kinds of places. They have that doesn't work as well, at least for in my experience. So
I have a ex-professor who was teaching cultural management back in one of the masters I had in Germany. She moved to Malta and became like a deputy manager of a hospital in charge of the art therapy and all the cultural event and decoration collection of the hospital, a private one. So I was in touch with her briefly, and basically I imagine that she buys art, like, like something like that, and makes like hosts workshops where artists would teach patients or their kids to have workshops, like, yeah, on site in the hospital. I would imagine all of that is happening.
yeah,
And
that's yeah.
So that leads to our project that I'll use 60 seconds to
If nobody else has a question before.
no, but this is linked with showing you art. So
We are very curious to hear
we
more.
want to write a book, not just we as writers, but have contributors, we as editors, to put together a book about showcasing your art. And it will be with, like, say, 5 chapters tentatively. The first chapter is artists showing their art in their own studios and in some commercial spaces like cafes and restaurants, whatnot, like small individual businesses. And then with galleries, and then in some art fairs, auction houses, like in the marketplaces. And then with institutions, public institutions, and then offbeat underground alternative spaces, including flash mob, where you're not necessarily supposed to be there, but you like do it in the moment and then get away with it. So basically, we're open to all the contributions from people who are either involved or witnessed the place, as long as this this event, the showcasing of the art, is helpful to other artists to learn something. So there is a bit of, like, I show you how I do it, and then some other people can learn something from it. It's not just like, for example, to show your art in the space with a private spaceship. Well, like, nobody else have a private spaceship, therefore it's kind of useless to have that idea, unless you build your own with like no budget, like, so it has to be kind of replicatable or teach some people about something. And also it has to kind of answer the question of how it's relevant to the world we live in today. So that's why I would put it myself, the events that has happened in the last 2 years, not 10 years ago, because maybe 10 years ago, whatever happened is no longer there, is no longer available, or is no longer trending, is no longer relevant. So what is happening now, like how people show their art now, and the incentives of the people who are contributing to the book is they got exposure, they get credits, and us, we can have this as a platform to include projects and best practices to show to other people. Yeah, so that's.
I like the idea. It's great. Can you describe physically how you envision the book? Is it going to be mostly like theoretical? Is it going to be a lot of images for almost like sample, like inspirational? Like what's the book feel like when you pick it up and read it?
That's a good question. So we're thinking about completely different formats, but simultaneously, it goes into a funnel. The first funnel is we collected and shared on our social media. Already we do a little digital collection and curation, a bit like Pinterest idea, but our Instagram, we have a separate Instagram already prepared for it, like years ago, called Show Your Artwork. That is a really good handle, and that's how we're gonna promote and cross promote and showcase. And then the second funnel would be if this person has a lot of interesting things to say, I'll make a video, I'll go to the place, or make a remote video interview of this project manager or the artist, whoever that is involved in the project, have a lot to say. Ideally have a lot of multimedia content to show as well. So to make an interview, and then the last product that is the most condensed and the best handpicked project of them all is going into the book. So I guess it depends on how deep and profound and how much information this person has to share. It would fit different models of showcasing. And into the book, I would imagine it has a fact sheet, data sheet of where and when and who did this project, a bit of factual things to make sure that it's actually happened, not something that is, to be more rigorous, a bit like academic. And then photos, and then interview, quoting from the person who actually did it, quoting word by word what he said about his own ideas and maybe the making of, or maybe the takeaway. Yeah.
Switch off.
Yeah. Switch off. Off.
I think it's great. I think it's a really interesting thing. So it's all about physically showing the artwork. It's not the
Yes.
digital stuff, because you guys have
No,
been
yeah,
really
nothing digital.
concentrated a
Nothing
lot of
digital.
times on
You can have like a digital campaign that you went with it, or it has to have at least the physical element to qualify. For example, one example I would include in the offbeat venue is one artist during COVID did a whole exposition in the underground garage of her own garage, where she has her own cars inside, and she put it on the pillars everywhere and did a mini online offline interactive hybrid show. Let's say, it's small scale, it doesn't have to reach 1 million people, but the practice itself is like using all the resources you could in a special time while not breaking the rules and laws, and having your art protected. Is not like you throw it in the street and have it damaged. So there's a good balanced practice of accessibility and pragmatism of like, if she can do it, I can do it too. So I'm like, okay, like, yeah, really encouraging. It doesn't have to be super high fashion blue chip, because if it's really high end, people can feel intimidated and do not want to try.
Can I give an idea?
Yes.
That's something I did. I think it's a little unusual place to showcase your art. I am using my friends' empty houses. If a friend of mine bought a house, I take advantage of before they move in.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good.
If it's like all white, it feels like very gallery-like and have a little party moment with young people.
Mhm.
It's like a house
Yeah,
warming
I
Nicholas.
sold an art piece recently thanks to that.
Oh, good.
It
Yeah,
wa-
you
yeah, it
restarted
wasn't like
to
very event. Yeah, I'm fully back into
good.
art because I find a very practical way to work. Like I go back to stitching, embroidery, like stitching
Embroidery.
mostly, and that style of technique. So it allows me to carry around my art with me. So minimum 2 hours a day I practice in the train and everywhere. So yeah, I'm back and people are kind of responding.
Yeah.
And people are liking, and I was like so insecure about this because no matter how meticulous or like I was like very happy about aesthetics of my works, but when you don't materialize it, if it's just on the screen or on the paper, there is like some emotions are missing. So with like threads and textile, it conveys the idea maybe better. And I was not seeing, even deep down, I knew, like, I don't have this bias, but always feeling like everyone could do stitching. It's like such a common skill. It's not intellectual enough. I was like so obsessed with this printing techniques or painting techniques. So I was like a bit overlooking other mixed media, other things. But now I'm happy. And we start a collaboration with Alessandro. Yeah,
Oh.
it's like
Oh.
it was kind of Greg's idea that he's doing this gestural calligraphy.
Yeah.
So we like time to time we were like doing this video call and talk about China and Middle East and art. So I come up with an idea and he liked it. Like I want to have some fake invented alphabets based on his projects.
Good.
So
Esra, I'm doing a textile piece too. Yeah, just
Oh,
now my
cool.
current work is also.
Yes.
So
Oh,
we're
it's super
doing the same.
cool.
I find it so nice to be able to take it. You're right. You can
Yes,
take it anywhere
yes,
and
it's in my bag.
work on it.
Like on the in the train. Yeah, it
Mhm.
seems like people are looking a bit judgmental, but I don't care. And this is not so visible in the camera, but this technique gives the sense of line very well, and it is a bit three-dimensional.
Yeah, you can be
So
blind and
Yeah,
appreciate
like
it. You
blind.
can be blind.
like a braille.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think of it. Yeah, I never have a blind viewer on my art. If I see a blind person, I would definitely
You could make
expose
a
my art.
vision without light. You
Yeah.
know, make everybody blind.
Well,
Yeah, I think that like what Esra is doing about showing in an empty house and just giving, I
Yes.
think it's a great idea, Amal and Greg, like to show artists that there are so many different places to reach audiences beyond galleries and museums. It's my partner who shows in the waiting rooms and lobbies of medical schools. He's showing art that's very hard to show because it's artists who have illness. He wants to replicate it, and other schools, other medical schools from all over the country are calling him and saying, we want to also do this. So that's another idea for your book, that there's ways that art can reach into communities that don't necessarily think that they can show art. So I like it. I like it.
yeah, so the idea is, I know that we know many people, and many people know many other people more that have this interesting practices, so we can have some sort of a open call to get the content, get the leads, and then we select, maybe we will have to get one more person, like different person in charge of different chapters. So we put like this project, okay, university is public. So we go to the organization because that's all the public sector. And then, like hotels, that's the non-gallery private sector. right? So something like that, like your friend's house, that's kind of underground, alternative. So we put them into different chapter. Each person can take one chapter and then work on it. And when this expand in the future, it can also, each chapter can be a standalone books. So it has this a scalability, you would say, in the business school of in terms of both the content wise and also the network effects, the contagiousness of this word of mouth. Because if there's an interesting project you read, you want to share with other people. Like, did you know? Oh my God, this is so interesting. Or you see something, you will go to this person or say, you should talk to Mo and Greg because they're writing about such things. You should contact them. So there's this urge, I think, to make people want to talk about it.
Yeah, maybe also you can include as a parameter how, because most of the artists are introverts, so how much personal, like communication skills it requires, or some venues, even they're unusual, maybe it's better fit for an artist collective or group of artists than, because young, only one artist, maybe it's hard to make a show with just like a single body of work, or like showcasing in a friend's house. It's like extremely relying on personal relationship, or talking to university gallery or some unusual place in university. It is more like institutional relationship, not everyone can handle.
Right. Just say, like, from what you're talking about, because you knew the person whose house was under construction and not yet moved into, right? So,
Yeah.
but it's possible these day and age, it's possible to form a network of art, of people that would be susceptible or acceptable to the idea of their house when
No, you need
yeah.
you need friends in
Yeah,
life.
well, but
I
friends
believe.
are
Rich
friends
friends.
there's all kinds of new friends.
Better.
There's all
Yeah.
kinds of new friends, you know, in this day, you know, because of what we have available. So it's possible, like you could form a
No,
friendship.
your poor friends can help the organization of the event. Your well of friends can help offering
Okay.
venue. Like you need to organize.
Contagiously.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. It's a good idea. It's this aspect I didn't think about is how difficult for this artist actually to replicate this event. Because the event from the picture, it can look all easy and because it's already done. But when you start to replicate, every step is a hurdle. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can start with you. We will send you the form
Yeah.
if you want, Esra.
Yeah, sure.
So the idea also is to counter everything. The problem today, if you write an article, there are like 10,000 other articles or just answered by AI. But the AI cannot generate content based on experience. So the content based on experience based content is what has a value today. Because everything else, theory, is
like personal stories,
difficult.
actual photos of something that took place physically.
And in the past, we did what is an art studio, for example. If you write on Google what is an art studio or an artist studio, on Google, there's the first article is ours. Because it was participative and every artist was sharing
Yeah, it was an
its
amazing
own studio
article.
with
Yeah.
photos and with an idea like what can you bring, like how it can help people, other artists. So it's taking this idea in a better way
Yeah.
with a book.
Yeah, not limited to studio, but studio is also a part of it. My challenge is what Greg mentioned to me earlier that I also didn't think about is the how is it relevant to the world we live in today?
Yeah.
That is the part I feel. The thing is that we live in different world because in China they live in a totally different world than
Same lack of resources, same climate change, same everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Same AI
but-
system, they
but
live
even
they live the same
different
problems.
social class they're living, because once we went to Ibiza, we came back, we're like, yeah, it's cool, but man, it's like that. And then some other friend went to the Ibiza same month and said, we just came
Yeah.
back from Ibiza.
Different
We had
point of view, yeah.
we went with a boat, and we had a villa, this and that, and showed me all the picture. I was like, that's not the same Ibiza I saw, because I saw the middle class, normal, regular tourism Ibiza. So even the same island can be seen totally differently by different people.
And so what I meant is if the artist or the gallerist or the person proposing its place as a reference, and he thinks like nothing is changing today, and he thinks like everything will go on like it will be, like if he's not aware that we're in a world of change, he doesn't think, like he doesn't have any thinking in the future, like how to prepare or to, if he has nothing to think about it, likely he will disappear and he has nothing relevant to say for me. So for me, these people are not, it's not important, because in 5 years, if you publish about them, they won't be interesting to
Mm.
it
To the
won't be
masses.
interesting places to read. But people with like the people prepared, like not negatively, but like they think like, okay, now the economy, now there is Bitcoin, I don't know, some this, and they think, please, please, can I?
Yeah, I didn't say nothing.
So, and Christine is coming.
Yeah.
And but then you got me. Okay.
Yeah, but
It's
I was
impossible
saying,
to do anything with it.
art exhibition in the nuclear bunker.
Yeah, it's possible.
Well, that's very relevant.
Show up. Christine is showing up.
Hello.
It's showing up
Nice
very
to
late
see you.
for a multitude of
Welcome, Christine.
I don't need to get into them. How is everyone?
Good.
You know everyone, I
Yeah.
think already.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's the same crew as last time, right?
Yeah, just Thais. not
Ai
here.
is missing, yeah.
Yes.
I love
Mm.
that. That's amazing. I do have
Yeah.
people in the gallery. So if I have to like hop off and do something,
Uh-huh.
it's like one of the many reasons that I'm only getting on right now. I've been having to like problem solve a variety of things.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cool.
What have I missed?
Just now we had a 2 project proposal as a test bench that Greg told you about yesterday. We had a private Zoom call. So Jeff was interested to propose an idea about showcasing art in hotels and corporate environment, hotels, banks, companies, whatnot, that is empty walls, great for the public to access in a very professional and clean environment. And I had the idea of proposing a book that include different aspects of showcasing your art, that is called tentatively Show Your Artwork, to exhibit physically your art in your own studio, in gallery, in art fairs, in public institutions, and offbeat alternative underground flash mob pop-up venues, different aspects to have people propose their project to be included. So it's kind of participatory, as well as with a community aspect of including their own projects that took place all over the world, where we just make interviews and gather the information and compose a book.
Mm,
Mhm.
those are both very cool.
Yeah.
The hotel one is reminding me of a project they visited when I was in DC called Eaton House, which I can
Yeah, Eaton House is a part of Arctic.co. Eaton House is a flagship. I did the research as well last month. Jeff told us after the community meeting, he stayed for half hour more, and he said, "I had this idea just now, on the moment." And I did also a background check of all the existing projects.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah, so
No.
house,
Is it-
Eaton.
right, I during the
English name.
confab about the the skeleton, the armature of this idea. We mentioned, you seem, there's an example of Artique in collaborating in Boston. There is a specific art consultant in Boston that worked with a project in Boston specifically about basically, you know, it's this model of putting art into places, you know, putting art into spaces. Basically, it could be any space. So yeah, so you know about this. Yeah.
I mean, like the concept, yes, for sure. Eaton House is not on Artique's list.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
no?
Okay.
Yeah, I got introduced to the curator and the person behind it and had never heard of Artique. So I think this is,
Okay.
it seems to be something different. Who is the person in Boston though? Because I'm wondering like which of the
You are
many-
the person. No, I actually, it's on the list. I put it down in the list of that I sent to Mo by Google. It's in my. I put it in as part of my research because I found one in Boston. I don't know. I could look at it now, but I'm on an
I'm
iPad.
wondering, is it like Artworks and Mallory? Is it Boston? Is it
I'll follow my rabbit. We can find
there's
it
probably
now.
about 6 different people it could be, and I'm like, which one of these people is it?
Right. Corporate art consultant, this type of body. I can look at it now. Just
So a lot of these projects, there are a lot of these projects in Boston, because of, I think, the medical community. There's a lot of projects to put art in the hospitals. There are projects to put art in the entranceways to corporations. So like Google has done a big one of these that a lot of artists contributed to. I think Artworks was the one behind that, placing that stuff. And then same thing with like pharma and biotech. A lot of them will do this. Some of them will actually do rotating exhibitions.
so the question is, how do you get into this network? how do artists get into this network? Who do you need? Who are the components? What is this model? How does this model function? Who's in it? How do we get to know them? You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So some of them have their favorite artists that they use. I would say a lot of it, and this is like the art world in general, honestly comes to, and this is particularly true in Boston, is that Boston is a very closed network where people tend to work with the people that they know and over again. People are also, these people are looking for top margins, right? So anything that's expensive, they don't want. Anything that's hard to move around, they're not going to want. And it creates hassles and an annoyance for everyone involved. Some of these places you can submit your work to. If this is I don't think this is the one in the Seaport. I think the Boston Art is in the Seaport. And some of them you like submit your work and then literally they'll take pieces and they have huge storage in their office and then they just sit in there and then they'll pull them out for people. And but usually it ends up being mostly local to wherever you are because that'll end up being kind of like the most relevant. Some of them, if you know the right people, like let me just pull up Artworks.
Yeah, by the way, Boston Art Rentals is the one that's
Yeah,
on.
I
Yes.
put it on.
Okay,
I
okay.
added it. In the
Okay.
So Artworks is like managing collections. Artworks.community. This is, I believe, Mallory. And here, let me put this link in. And Natalie Lemley. And then
So since
Yeah.
so since this is such a since this field, like every other field in the art world, is so nepotistic and a friend of a friend, so I'm positing this as I'm positing this as an effort, you know, like Very Private Gallery doesn't need to be ethically involved in promoting the artists from Very Private Gallery community, but I am, you know, because I have a need I am a hungry artist that has a lot of extra work in storage, and I want to know how do I do this? How do I network? You know, I'm here. I'm ready to.
How do you network?
How do
So-
you not how do you network in this particular case? I mean, this is a case study for me, because from an idea, and then I research and I find out, whoa, there's all these people that are doing this. So how do I get to know them? How do I, this is.
I mean,
so,
part of it is literally what you're doing right now. And
Yes.
it's having the conversation over
Right,
and over and over
exactly.
again. in
Show up.
person and
Show
online.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And speak
It-
up.
Yeah. I mean, like literally, this is what you have to do. This is what I do all the time. I just have conversations with people over and over and over again until I figure out like who's in
Right.
charge
Right.
what?
Right.
and
Yes.
how stuff works.
Yes.
And then I share that information with people.
That's why it occurred to me after meeting you in the chat last time. I thought, well, this idea is not crazy to bring up in a group like this, because you never know who might know something about it. And in this case, so we're finding out you actually do know a lot about it.
Oh yeah. So like art advisory firms, essentially what happens is that people go to art advisory firms. And it's the last thing that architects think about and the last thing that designers think about. And then
Right.
people who have too much money on their hands and don't know how to buy art, but want to have a collection that's going to impress people, go to art advisory firms. And then they pretty much say, here's my budget. I have $100,000 budget. I want you to get me art I want X number of pieces, or I want my friends to be impressed, or I like this type of art. I want to start building a collection. You have $100,000 this year, or you have $50,000, or X, Y, or Z, and then they're off to the races. One of the big ones as well is Kate Chertavian. In Boston, she is the person who did David Bowie's collection. That's how she made her mark. She also did then she did the Quinn in Boston and Four Seasons. So what happens is that you have to like have your big break, right? You get one job, people see that you do it well, and then from there you're given other kind of higher and
Right.
higher
And what
profile-
would her title be actually? Is she a dealer, curator, consultant, art advisor?
art advisor, art consultant.
Art advisor, art consultant.
And then she also, so like One Dalton, Boston art. Yeah, so she even like she is the first page that comes up. And actually they have like a whole PDF on that also comes up when you go.
You mean
but
when you Google
work by
art
Yinka
advisor?
Shonibare in there at One Dalton. And like she's done a really good job. So you gotta
Okay.
like know what you're doing.
Well, you certainly know a lot about this subject. Okay. So
Not
that's
as
great.
much as her.
With the hotels, you can get on hotel chains that show art like 21C, and they have something like 10 locations now all over the country, mostly the Southeast, but now it's spreading. And they show art. They have rotating exhibitions, and their website, if you go to 21C, the number 21, the letter C.com or hotel.com, there's an artist submissions page, so you could submit there. I do think some of these corporations and hotels have a website with an artist submission page, and then like Christine was saying, I guess it's a matter of following up or maybe trying to get to know someone who might be able to advise you on what they're looking for, because being one of thousands of submissions is kind of frustrating.
It's
can be
also making your own
demoralizing.
lane sometimes. And so,
What'd you say?
for instance, it's also about making your own lane sometimes. And so I would also recommend you go to like, let's say, I think hotels are probably a better bet than let's say a restaurant, because I think restaurants often can kind of like demean artwork more so than elevate it, depending on how high end the restaurant is. But hotel lobbies a lot of the time can be a great place to show work if you have the kind of like the right space. But go somewhere where the hotel art is not good or is not being, you know, taken care of or is non-existent. And you could pretty much say, how would you feel were I to do, like, this is my art. I have a proposal to do X, Y, or Z. And like, there's no rule against doing something like that. And
Right, no.
creating those connections where literally this program doesn't exist. And then, you know, if you're doing it well, then, and obviously you're doing it for free, right? Like you can't go in and be like, and you're gonna pay me. No, you have to be willing to like kind of take this on yourself for your own edification and building your CV, where you're then the curator and everything.
Right.
To be clear though, if you want to be taken seriously as a curator, your work cannot be in a show. Okay. So like once you get to a certain point, like it's great to have your own work on the wall and kind of like self-promote that way. But if you want to be taken seriously as a curator, you cannot curate your own work. So you have to.
Have you, yeah, no, okay, so I'm just, so you know a lot of, you know, you have colleagues or you have acquaintances, but you yourself have not been an art advisor?
I keep on getting like pushed into that and I just don't love it.
Really? But you,
Yeah, no.
I wonder why.
I don't know. It's like not, I like writing about art. I don't love telling people what to buy.
No, or, okay. But we're not necessarily talking about buying, but yeah, it gets into, there has to be either a rental or a loan or some, there has to be an amount of money involved in this or else nobody's getting paid for their time. So yeah.
So I tried to, with
Yeah.
Show Up, actually create a structure that was going to be a kind of like a corporate structure for having artists get paid to rent out their work. And I could not make the business work. I could not make the
Oh.
number.
Oh, really?
Not
Okay.
for artists at this level.
You
Not
tried.
for people whose work was $5,000 or less. Because in order for anyone to make money, you had to rent out the artwork for disproportionately large amounts of sums in reference to how much the work actually cost. And it just didn't make sense because I don't know, like the numbers just didn't work for me. At least as I was trying to see it. And it was uninsurable, even more so.
Greg.
Greg was just
Greg.
telling about insurance because we have a
Insurance.
common friend who works for AXA as a specialist for calculation, as a mathematician of the losses, all the cargoes lost and transport lost. So it's calculating risks and giving policies. And
You guys want to hear a funny story? So one time I had an artist who, this was not related to me. So she had shown here, you know, had her work up and everything like that. Sold well. This is someone who's like, you know, does oil paints, probably like, you know, 18 by 24 is approximate size. So like kind of like this size maybe. So not big pieces. She sends them by UPS. And let's say she was sending two pieces and like had put them in the same box, but this person had assumed that they were coming in different boxes. And so she had to pick them up at UPS. So she takes the one piece out and like leaves and was like, oh, I wonder when the other piece is coming in the other box. And then figures out that the other piece was actually in the same box. They had already destroyed the box with the art piece in it. And then they had to figure out like, well, who pays when you have like a $3,500 piece that's been destroyed?
Mhm.
And yeah, I want to say that it was a gallery that had kind of made these, and I told the artist, I was like, the gallery has to eat this cost. Like that's like the best thing that can happen. And no, it's not ideal, but if you want to keep this person's clients, but like,
Yeah.
Hey,
or at least
everybody, I have to go. I'm sorry. It's been great to talk. I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thank you. See
Bye.
ya.
Bye.
Yeah.
yeah, or see if insurance is going to cover that. But yeah, that was
Yeah,
pretty
I don't know.
wild.
Last
But
time
is
we
it
went to
so
show, I mean,
expensive in the
Here,
States,
hold on one second.
insurance? Because here it's like quite cheap adding insurance to in Schengen area. It's like very cheap.
Really?
Yeah, in Schengen, depending
Yeah.
you can insure, but the problem is when you claim. I can insure, for example, iPad. We actually forgot the iPad in Lisbon last time when we travel. And to insure this is one thing. To claim, to get the money is another thing.
Okay.
No, we had the stock in the gallery I was working in. We had the stock of like 10 years of artworks stock
Mhm.
in the ground
Basement.
and in the basement, and then the gallery didn't pay because we had to pay, but we
Didn't
were
insure.
just we didn't, we just thought it's like it is and we won't tell, and in fact we cross our fingers, and then because otherwise it would be I think 300,000 per year.
No, I meant the
No,
shipping.
this is,
like when you
this is-
ship.
Okay.
Here, hold on one second.
Hello.
These are gallery owner and gallery director from Portland who have come
Which
in.
gallery?
This is around the world. This is very private gallery in Madrid. And then artists who we are all part of kind of a group that chats together about a variety of different things.
Oh,
We're
how
talking
fun.
about getting art into hotels and, art rental programs and
Hook.
advisors versus owning and running a space.
Ah, that sounds very lucrative. Whereas running a space does not.
Well, I couldn't make the rental idea work for money wise. So in terms of, I tried to game it out and it wouldn't. So
Sometimes I did rentals in Atlanta to the film industry and TV industry for sets.
how'd you get
Yeah.
into
I was one of the locations for Stranger Things. So
Oh,
I
wow.
just kind of fell into it.
That's how it happens though. People, you end up just falling into things.
Yeah.
Massachusetts has a lot of location and film stuff as well, because we have a lot of I don't know. And I know some people in that. And it's usually about like asking people.
Yeah.
You just have to be curious and network.
And
That's what I
that,
was saying.
that worked well because they
Mm.
usually only need it for a week or 2
Yeah.
weeks, and they have a budget.
Yeah, that's very true. And I've had some pieces from some artists end up in films as well. Liam Neeson movie or something.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And then Bob Freeman's work is all the work in American fiction is from a local artist to Boston.
That's neat.
Yeah.
See,
So
I love that.
it's some cool stuff. So
Thank you, everybody.
here, I'll
Thank
take
you.
Thank you.
card. Thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christine,
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
in many series you have the
Yeah.
evil character, the main character, he has a desk, an office,
Yeah,
and
that's-
then
that's
there's a
a-
big frame. Yeah.
Film,
Very
film,
specific industry.
there's a whole field of art advisors for film, art placement people within the film. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
But
That's
usually, from what I know, because I was trained in the film industry, usually you also do something else for the film. Likely, for example, I know another
You're very
person
interior designer.
who is a stunt person
Yeah, or-
and also a light designer. So he's
Right.
on site to do 2 jobs. It's maximum. Usually, the film crew is very multivalent, multiple
or the
jobs.
art director will
Twice.
just make some art or so whatever,
You can be like a set designer and give
Yeah.
art
Yeah,
or
yeah,
manage
prop,
art.
the
Usually,
prop
prop guy.
master.
Yeah, usually it's hard to do just one thing with a film. Yeah.
You have a card.
Oh, wow.
Of course.
No, it's interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I must say, I'm pleasantly surprised that we get into such a knowledgeable discussion with somebody. And you're Christine, you're almost like you actually tried this model. You're saying you're like a beautiful test case, because you have, it's like a great way to start an experiment, because like for me, because you
Don't
actually
not
have.
do things though, just because I'm like, oh, well, I couldn't make it
No,
work. and I put numbers on
that's
an Excel
exactly what I'm
spreadsheet."
saying. It's the best way to explore an idea with somebody that tried something and said no, that's perfect, because then we it's just great. It's a great experimental model to have somebody say, oh yeah, I tried this. So, and you have very specific, And again, it reminds me of this insurance thing that Greg's talking about, because I love all these phrases about risk assessment, you know, and because we're dealing with
My
this.
brother-in-law is in risk assessment. If you want to get into that, I can do a deep dive in that.
It's perfect. No, it's perfect, because earlier in the talk, Christine, I was saying, well, how about we merge this idea, radical, terminology with insurance and art. So it's a perfect kind of thing, like, because art is it's very interesting for me, because art is supposedly a valuable thing, right?
Yeah.
Except unless it isn't worth nothing.
It's a Ponzi scheme at its base. It's only worth, it's like, it's like dollars. Once you took us off the gold standard, it's only worth what people think it's worth.
It's more like a Bitcoin or something.
Which is exactly perfect to merge it with the concept of insurance, because it's perfect. It's like risk assessment. It's the valuation of something, right? The valuation of something is exactly what art is. Art is nothing unless it has a valuation, which is perfectly goes well.
I'm trained as an appraiser, so I can also go into that. But Laura, what do you want to say?
Well, I was just going to see if you would type in the chat the people who just came in, because I couldn't hear all that well. Thank you.
Oh yeah, sure.
Maybe their gallery. I just want to look them up.
Yes, they can always use new followers. Gallery in Portland, Maine, and that was Sharon Dennehy. So she was in Atlanta beforehand, and I was like, why'd you leave Atlanta? She goes, like, what made you leave and come up here? And she's like, Atlanta. So I don't know what that means, but because it's cold and it is gray, it's miserable today, honestly.
Oh, but Portland is so cool.
It is. It has like its own vibe up there. It's hilarious. Like the guy who was with her, if I could have described like an art handler, like the stereotypical like art handler, like art person, it would have been him. Like that is the person that like you just like you're like, oh, you work in the arts? Are you, like what do you do? It was not a surprise.
That's good. It's that's personal branding, no? Like to make your whole package fit your job perfectly.
Branding, but yes. I don't mind it. It's just it's funny. It would be like seeing a farmer walking around with overalls and a pitchfork.
Yeah, we're all the pitchfork. Yeah, painter with a jumpsuit and roller. Yeah, I have a question because Esra just mentioned that sometimes when you insure a package is quite cheap to insure. It seems in her experience in Schengen in Europe, but I have a different experience when you actually claim the loss. It's totally different than the price you insure.
Yeah, I've never claimed, never happened to anything.
Is that, do you have? Because I am afraid you can insure how you want, but the moment you have to justify.
It depends the company you're working with.
Yeah, maybe because they don't check carefully you can claim the cost of art the way you want, obviously.
All right.
They don't have art
on
experts to check, but so even the process, it was like a bit do it yourself. So I believe they don't give back the money.
So the deal with
like percentage adding in the like very little percentage adding the shipping cost. So it was like very cheap.
What the amount of money you got back on what you claimed?
I never
She didn't claim, but I have more experience in claiming because I have difficulties claiming the amount I insure, but actual insurance is cheap enough.
Yeah. So I did a 27-hour appraisal course or something like that. It was one of my COVID projects. To become an appraiser, though, a certified appraiser where you can appraise for the IRS, you have to do over 600 hours of appraisals, and I was never going to do that. So I didn't. I took the USPAP test, passed the USPAP test, which is like the one that they use even for people who are like appraising houses, etc., and left it at that. And then started my master's degree in art history. When it comes down to how insurance appraisals work, appraisals in general, the key thing to understand is that price and value are not the same thing. And so you can put any price you want. I could be like, this mug is worth $1 million, right? I'm drinking out of $1 million mug because I wouldn't sell it to anyone for less than $1 million. The price on this mug is $1 million, right? And so now I have my $1 million mug I'm drinking out of. It's priced at $1 million. Do you think under normal market circumstances, anyone is going to pay me $1 million for this? No, right? But after, I don't know, let's say it's the last mug in the world, there's like nothing else we could put water in, right? It's the only one. I usually do this example with like water in the desert, right? Like that changes the price value, like the whole equilibrium in which price may go up, but then that's not normal market circumstances, right? And then you have like the whole value. So you have to look at like, what is someone going to pay me? So I can say $1 million, but someone else might only pay me $5. And so I'm going around, oh, it's $1 million, $1 million. And then someone's like, I'll give you $5 for it. And I'm like, okay. And I sell it for $5. What is the value of this? It's $5, because that is what in normal market circumstances where everything is kind of normal, that's the price at which it changes hands. Okay. And so what an insurance company has to do when someone says, like, you broke my mug, and then you go to get a insurance claim on your mug or on your painting or whatever, is to actually figure out the value, not the price that you set it at. And so the thing is that most people, when they are insuring work to ship, they only know one thing, right? Like us as a person who, like, as the gallery, when I have, like, if I need to send off this painting, I'm going to put in the price, right? Because that's the closest that I know to its value. That's the price I assume people are going to pay for it, but I don't know what someone would actually pay for it. So that's what I put in. And that's what all of us probably kind of like these market prices are what we put in as the value. But the insurance company, their job is to try to figure out what is the actual value. Because the thing is that, you know, this person may never have sold a painting before, or this person may regularly accept 50% of the price of this and they've doubled all their prices because it's in a gallery. And that is the job of the insurance company and the person that I put on the case is to figure out, like, what is the actual value of it? And they have to do research into you and your art, and then into their comps, so that they literally look at comps, just like you would for a house, in order to figure this out. So sorry, I am going on and on and not letting anyone else talk. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so you never had a problem when you insure it for X amount, let's say $3,000, and then the insurance company went back and say, no, I'll only give you 2,000 or 1,500. Have you had problems often, or how often they give you the full amount?
Oh no, they're like never going to give you the full amount.
That's what I guessed.
Yeah, it's percentage.
We had like a $3,000 piece that was like, the person shipping this was like totally ridiculous. Imagine someone shipping you like a box of, it looks like a box made of matchsticks. And then they're like, oh no, it fell apart. like looking back on it, I'm like, how the hell did this thing we didn't even think that this was going to survive being shipped from Utah to Boston. It was broken into multiple pieces. I want to say though that they had definitely like damaged the box as well. It was like bent in on a corner, things like that. She got back at least like $800, $1,000 on it. Because the argument was like, it's not destroyed as well. Because that's also the thing. It's like, how are you going to fix it? Right? And so it's sometimes if something that they've decided is destroyed, they will actually take it and destroy it. Even if you're like, there's like, here's your $1,000. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to like put it in the shredder, right? And you're like, you don't necessarily want that. Versus, you know, having you or their, you know, their preferred artist like fix the item. It gets very, very complicated. I've actually dealt with this a lot in terms of insurance because I've moved internationally so many times. Tons of my stuff has gotten broken, actually, now that I think about it. I had to fight with the insurance company many times. Anyway, they paid like $800 and she used it to actually fly out and fix it before the start of the show. And this woman from Utah stayed with me multiple days. And then I actually liked the piece enough that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to buy this because this will not survive another flight. And I don't have, I'll try to maybe take a picture of it. And it's a really cool piece and it sits above, it's a 3-dimensional wooden sculpture that comes out from the wall. It's made of all these little squares. And it sits happily at my house. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh. You have such experience and knowledge of all the things. I would like to propose to make the next video with you, a chat of, well, my preferred subject is the not-for-profit gallery versus, I mean, what is a non-profit gallery or community gallery or however you define it, and how is it different from the previous gallery business you had and what made you make the change. You know, it's more like your personal journey. And I've done research since our last get together of all different nitty-gritty things about in the US and in Europe. What does it is? And by the way, in Europe, it's illegal to make the sponsored you like NGO or not-for-profit cannot sponsor another individual to say, I pass, like, you know, the sponsorship where Anna mentioned last time, like someone want to do a project under an umbrella project.
Oh,
it's not allowed in
yeah.
Europe. You have to get your own or you
yeah.
cannot do it.
I forget what that's called, but yes.
Yeah, the sponsorship.
Kind
of. Like you cannot go under the name of someone else.
Which honestly makes a lot of sense. I am not a huge fan of those because it's a accounting nightmare. And I don't love how a lot of places take significant cuts of the money. And I get it because it's like if I had to do that for someone else, I feel like I would have to because it's like taking my time. The accounting is taking time and time and money.
Risk if they get checked by IRS, I guess there's extra audition process. You need to pay extra money and time for auditing.
All of it. It's just like, I don't know. All I know is I'm like trying to do my like 1099s and like the taxes right now. And I don't know, want to claw my eyes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah,
by the
exactly.
way,
Those things.
or also in Italy, it's like very, very not feasible, non-profits. We tried to register it with Amal for the think tank. We get a bit of funding, but at the end, we couldn't even pay ourselves minimum wage of ours because it was allowed only 5%. So we had to spend all the money for the project, and like private funding, Patreonship, it's much more feasible for small non-profit hearted people.
Yeah.
I think if there's a lot of rules around that.
EU fundings especially, and my partner in think tank, she's working as project writer for EU, so she did everything perfectly. She get maximize everything, and it was like still so little. It was like basically we did everything for free.
I think part of it is because there's so much more that is state sponsored in Europe that I think that the government really, in a way, wants to ensure pure motives from anything that's nonprofit. Whereas in the US, there's, you can take this argument that nonprofits are really everything that the government doesn't have the capacity to do for its people, that it is then inviting private citizens to take on. Because all of these things are actually owned by the state and the people of their states. So, because I'm not the owner of the nonprofit, right? It's the people of Massachusetts essentially own it. And this is a service that I am providing to the people of Massachusetts. It's the Attorney General. We like sit under the Attorney General and we have to like report back to them every year. And so it's, if you kind of like look at it in that way, it's that idea of trying to make sure that you're
That's so
living up to
true.
those.
But there's also another thing. It is like recall mechanism is not working well in EU. So if, let's say, you get funding for helping circular economy for female immigrants, let's say the budget is 2 million. If anything goes wrong and the project didn't happen or some criminal like laundry cases involved, taking that money back is like quite impossible. So that's why they are so picky about not distributing to the people. They just want things spent.
Yeah, well, and I think that, the comment you made earlier, I think the proportion, when you look at different nonprofits and the amount that they're spending on programming versus the amount that they're spending on overhead, that is a continually an issue, right? Where you have, like, if you look at the Red Cross, like, look at how much the CEO of the Red Cross makes every year. Like, we could even do that now, and you would be shocked. Like, these guys, and well, guys, men and women, but well, I'll just leave it there.
We had a scandal in China where there's this socialite who pretend to be the manager of a Beijing division of the Red Cross, but she in fact wasn't. It was her boyfriend, and she lived a luscious lifestyle and put it on social media and got all the attention, and bam, and the whole reform came after that, thanks to her. So I can imagine all this. In Europe, we're not allowed to give a salary. In a nonprofit, we're not allowed to give a regular salary to ourselves. Unless certain tasks are performed, you can be paid for the hours spent performing the task. We're not allowed to just give opinion advice and get a salary. It's not allowed.
So you're allowed to have a hourly wage then. You can be an hourly employee is what it sounds like.
Yeah, you're allowed to only, yes, if there are real work being put and you can demonstrate that, you're allowed to get that pay proportionally to the work, but you're not allowed just for being on the advisory board and receive a certain amount.
Yeah.
Or
Well, yeah, being a board member,
giving an opinion, neither just actual work, like sitting there receiving people or things like that.
Let me speak into existence as well. Like Show Up needs board members. I have a very kind of like hands-off board. I need like people with accounting and law experience. I'm trying to grow a board. The best would be people probably around here. I've talked to Diana Weimar about being involved, but and I think I'd still really love that. It does kind of like push things more in like a virtual direction. But if any of you know people who you think would be interested, particularly here in the United States, and would want to like talk to me about being involved.
That's why we should make this video. I'm sure after that you have a lot of contacts coming in.
Sure. People who are in like particularly tend to be interested in this sort of thing who aren't already involved are people looking to get experience to be then on corporate boards, because corporate boards are where you get paid to be on boards. You make lots of money. And
yeah.
Laura, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I just have to go. I didn't want to leave without saying goodbye. Thank you all so much. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cool.
I may have a friend calling me about something important. So when they call, I'm gonna probably.
Yeah, and I think we'll slowly stop anyway.
Yeah.
So no worries at all. So yes, Mo, let's do that video. That sounds great. I will say that every time I talk about being a nonprofit gallery to like my fellow gallerists, they go, we're nonprofit too. We're also not
Like
making
artists,
No,
non-profit artists.
like, yeah, yeah, like, non-profit artist is the funniest term. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're all nonprofits. What makes you special, Christine?
yeah.
Because it's your choice.
Yeah, but the
Right.
question for commercial
I
gallery-
actually chose to. I'm registered.
no choice.
I am official.
Officially by
I'm
law.
officially not making any money. You're just official. You're unofficially not making any money.
How much percentage you can keep and how much you have to reinvest as a nonprofit in gallery in the States?
I mean, okay, well, if you're talking about, let's say you sell a piece of artwork, 70% of that has to go back to the artist, and
Yeah.
we can keep 30% of it. That's probably the easiest way to answer that question. In terms of how much money can you keep versus how much do you have to reinvest, you have to reinvest 100%. Like all the money, it's a closed system in the sense that you have to keep 100% of the funding. Anything in like the revenue has to stay within the company. Like you can't draw funding from it. That's what makes it a nonprofit. You can put money in a rainy day fund for a future project. So you don't have to spend all of your money in 1 year if you have a positive flow. So you have positive cash flow, you can hold on to the money and have a rainy day fund, things like that from year to year. But and obviously we have employees and we pay the employees. But all the expectation is that all the money gets reinvested, that none of it is being pulled out by like an owner drawdown or like a board. There's no like board dividends or something.
Bye-bye, Ezra.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, exactly. But if someone gives you a bit of money, and are you allowed to give them like 10% kind of commission?
No.
Because in China, that's what we do.
So I've actually had people even suggest that, like, let's say a grant writer could write a grant. So you can hire people to be a grant writer, right? And let's say you hire a grant writer to write a grant and you get a $100,000 grant. And they've implied, well, then or even that I could take a percentage of that. That is highly unethical. Within we'll say the confines of Western ethical structures. All right. So I'm not going to place my ethics structure on China or how China does things, but they have actual grant writing ethics and ethics structures, and they say that is not allowed. And that for me was very reassuring because I'd had these people, someone kind of suggest that I do that, or that like someone could do that. And I was not into that idea, and it didn't feel right to me. And then so I got that confirmation. I would say like that would be a piece I probably would not want to get so much into just because of I don't know. The gray area of having had that conversation with someone feels like I don't want people being like, well, who was it? Who did you have this conversation with? You know what I mean?
Because,
like
in China it's normal because you don't pay the writer. If she gets it, she gets a percentage. If she doesn't, she get nothing.
Yeah, so commission, essentially like commission-based performance is not an acceptable way to do grants because it encourages you to write only the largest grants, and it just doesn't work as a model that's going to encourage honesty and fair play, I think, is probably the best way to describe it. I mean, it certainly is very motivating though, so I can understand why it would work well.
So the sales tax you also don't pay as a not-for-profit.
So to be clear, when we are buying items, we are not obligated to pay sales tax.
When you're selling.
when we are selling items, we are most certainly obligated to charge sales tax and to pay sales tax to the state of Massachusetts.
It's kind of the opposite from what I know. Interesting. Huh.
It's the opposite of what you know from like that a nonprofit would not be obligated in Europe to charge VAT. I would assume they would have to charge VAT. And that you'd be exempt from paying VAT. Because that's what I'm
any business you don't pay if you're not the end user. If you are the end user.
exactly. No, the end
then you always pay.
exactly.
So,
No, so no one who's in the middle pays VAT.
Yeah, that's
Or and that's our sales tax. So no one exactly. Commercial gallery, nonprofit gallery.
Mhm.
If you're not the end user, you're not paying VAT. You have your little form that's like, I'm just buying this frame to put it on a painting
Yeah.
so that someone else can buy it from me. And then you like don't have to pay the sales tax, right? But when that painting is put out for sale, here I have my like cool little piece here that someone brought me like 2 entire bags full of garbage. Essentially, it was all ephemera. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And they're like, well, do you want it? And I was like, no, I guess like put it in the garbage or something. It was like they'd cleared out someone's attic. This is like the one thing this is like an original like mezzo tint that was in there. This is the one thing I rescued. And it's this cute little print.
Wow.
But it's like if I was going to sell this, right, to the end user and I'd like bought the frame, it would be, and let's say I'm selling it framed, right? Like I would have to put sales tax on this. And the state of Massachusetts fully expects me to pass along from my bank account the amount of sales tax that I have charged. And what we do is it's not an integrated price. So it's like if I have this at $100, I'm selling it at $106.25.
Mhm.
And that $6.25 goes to Massachusetts.
Mm.
Okay.
That's pretty fair. For us, it's 21%.
And it's included in the price.
Hmm.
Yeah, usually, yes, always
Right.
included.
So you have to like be constantly thinking about that. Which is the
Yeah.
annoying.
Yeah, that's why we know people who are first time sellers, business person, and it's possible in the end of the month
They're like,
you make money,
what
but
do I
after
do?
everything you lose money.
21%. But
It's
Yeah, that's
crazy. It's
serious.
more. It's worse when you hire somebody. You pay like half of this person's salary as a social security
oh,
as
mean,
well.
you have to. My two biggest expenses are the space and HR. And, we have you can run a pretty lean operation, as you call it, exhibiting art because you don't have to acquire inventory. And it's one of the best things about this business, right? But the thing is that when you want to start beefing it up and doing everything like a real business, where you have marketing and you have people who actually help you run the events and you have that kind of support structure around, what would I call it? Like around the artists so that they understand the timing and you're not kind of like constantly doing things by the seat of your pants. So like I have an events and exhibitions person, I have a marketing person, and I have a bookkeeper and fundraising person. Like, it's like $100,000 plus out the window in a
Yeah.
year, like without even blinking. The good thing is that it's part of programming expenses because I actually hire people to teach them these jobs, and I hire artists, I hire creatives. I'm not
Mhm.
hiring like an accounting firm. I'm not hiring, it's like we're growing the people's skill set.
Yeah.
And so that they
That's the
can go and
best
get amazing
aspect.
jobs doing this work later after they've kind of like learned the skills more with me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Not that
Totally.
I'm like some guru / expert, we're all just figuring it out, but it's
Those
like,
are the very good information, so I know the right questions to ask. because this is the thing that I really want to talk about as well, like the community aspect of not only selling their work, not only giving them, the cash after, but also growing, cultivating a community that enriching their lives.
And
Oh yeah, I mean like so like there's that part of the community, and then there's I mean really I would say I'm still trying to like figure out like the perfect model. The perfect model is going to be one where I actually make money. We definitely have not figured that out yet.
better money.
And or get enough people to donate because they're like really love what we're doing. And that has to be understood by people outside the art industry. People in the art industry know and understand it. One of the good things is that Ad Lab at Boston University is run by, and this is like, one of the other things about networking, by the way, is that it takes time. Like I've been putting like 8 years into this now. And I would say, hold on. Okay. Sorry, my child has been getting the wrong dose of a medication, and I've gotten like 5 messages from the doctor, like all in a row. Like I'm gonna deal with these in a minute. My child's hasn't poisoned themselves yet, thank goodness.
Okay.
But like this person that I've known for like 8 years, is now in charge of Ad Lab, largest student advertising agency in the country, run out of BU, and they'll like do a whole advertising campaign for you and like develop it for like $500 a semester. Like amazing value, and they're going to help us kind of like craft these messages so that we can kind of like then get them out there, because we just don't have the resources.
Yeah.
And really it's about kind of crafting this message that's like Boston has a very delicate ecosystem. Everything's really siloed in the art world. There's not this place that provides this like critical stepping stone between, being this emerging artist working, on your own, and to kind of like the higher end galleries as this like high potential person, and into the institutional world. Like, where is that creative catalyst space? And with the support that you get from a museum, with the support that you get from a high-end gallery, for these artists who have potential, but are not like a traditionally commercial artist either, not the person that you're going to see who's doing like the pop art that you would get on any corner. And so we are that, and we're offering like the exhibition space, we're offering like the education that these people need, and then offering the engagement, the events, and what I realized, like the connections as well.
I see. I just literally looked up and just quickly, and I just saw in Spain for the nonprofit, if you're like making an exhibition, charging some entry fee, or doing some, we call it the core events of promoting, helping artists, then you don't charge VAT. But when you sell the actual artwork, and they call it the commercial activities of the NGO or not-profit, then you must charge the VAT as a business. So they make it quite clear between what is like a club activity or educational activity, and then to the commercial one. Whenever there is a transaction involved, usually they are treated like a business. They don't have more advantage or disadvantage. It's just like if they were a company. So
that makes sense.
All the things are quite interesting to make. I think just what the margin is, for me, all the margin is the 21% VAT. That is the margin.
The margin, you mean like,
let's say if a business that it works or not, like you said, I actually make money, or not.
It has to be higher than that if that's a VAT.
You only need that 20% of the VAT. You only need that 20%. You're like, wow, the most profitable business, or nothing, right? The VAT alone, imposing or not, can break it or make it. And that's why there is a whole industry of art publications that are like actual artworks, but they call it editions. Therefore, they charge 4% VAT as books in Spain. So the book is
Oh.
4%.
Yeah,
So
it's okay. I mean,
yeah,
after
it
you
basically-
resolve
I'm
it's just the between the 21% and 4% that makes the business yes or no. So
Oh, that's really interesting. So I'm the newest board member at Boston Art Review, which is essentially a magazine, like high-end, like it's
Yeah.
beautiful, wonderfully published. It's like the highest end art magazine in Boston. Started like 5 years ago or something by someone in their 20s, Jameson Johnson, doing great job, really promotes Boston. It's something that I want to see go to many cities around the world. And like I'd like to see it in New York, Paris, London, wherever we could find it. But knowing that you sell them as editions rather than issues.
no issues or edition, as long as it's a replicable print that can qualify as edition or book, massive production, it's 4% as books. So
Yeah, well, I know, but
people who print their works a little more, and with ISBN, 4%, and you can get a lot of help because it's a book. It's so innocent.
right. Well, but maybe it's something that
Mm.
it's just like like the delta on that, like to just hedge, like knowing that is really
Yeah.
interesting.
Like hedging.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just back to what you were talking about, one thing that's been important, and I think a lot of galleries have struggled with, is what do you do about actually making money from selling things here? Like you were talking about having to impose the VAT on physical items, right? And I've been asked that question multiple times. And I've asked my accountant about it. It's like, okay, we are selling items, right? We don't necessarily sell a lot, but like, what makes that different than a commercial gallery? And for us, obviously, it's like the difference in percentage. But for me, it's 1,000% like within, like we are offering support for artists, and I will happily like not have anything for sale, actually. Like that would be my preference because it would be like less work, but these artists need money. Like that is one of the top things that these people need. And we would be doing them a disservice if we didn't list them for sale, if they wanted them for sale. So that money is one of the tools that we are offering them so that they can move their practice forward. Versus some nonprofits end up with what you call unrelated business income. And if you have too much unrelated business income, then the IRS kind of questions, are you actually a nonprofit?
Same for
right?
Europe. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's kind of what you were looking at as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just making a little comment
It's
on
good
that.
to know that there's also, I thought in America everything is okay, like it's so loose.
Oh God, no. Well, who knows with, where
Yes.
the rules may be getting looser and looser for all we know. I'm gonna have to get going here in a second.
Yeah.
Any last comments?
Yeah, just one thing, it's difficult to say anything, is I think if there's a video about this, about the non-profit galleries, it can be viewed and interesting for an audience of artists, an audience of gallerists, and an audience of investors, funders. So maybe it could be cut into 3 parts. I don't know, because if you go too much in the details and you mix everything, some artists will be not interested in like how the gallery works, and there's no influence for them. So
like
maybe
three
acting
separate
it
videos?
into maybe chapters, I don't know. Because someone who wants to invest in this kind of galleries is not the same as an artist, and is not the same as a gallerist who wants to open this
There's
gallery.
3
Let's be clear.
interested stakeholders. Yeah.
No one should invest in a nonprofit. There's no investing.
No, the people who
not
donate.
I don't have the terms.
Donate.
Okay.
Donate.
Okay.
Sorry.
Or
Donor.
support. Yeah.
No, but I actually think it would be better. Like, I think that shorter videos that are more focused rather than a long video in chapters. I mean, you guys are like the SEO masters, but like
Yeah.
when I think about it, wouldn't a video that is edited where you're pulling out the parts that are relevant actually make more sense than one long
This is
video with
short.
chapters?
This is short.
Yeah. I think
Not
the
even short, I mean, like,
format
a
is well.
short would be less than like 3 minutes. I'm talking about
Okay.
probably,
Yeah, it's
like,
enough.
Yeah, I
like
can also
20
do
minutes, or
shorts.
10 minutes on
Yeah,
each.
okay. got it.
If you want to get
Got
the authority on a subject, it's better to gather everything and to put the chapters for the people to go directly where they want. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Got it.
Yeah, okay, I'll
Whatever.
think
So you
about
have to think about it because
Right,
it also.
whatever you want.
mostly it's artists on the internet. Mostly it's them. And if you start with Gary audience, if you first target the
Yeah.
first chapter is Gary audience,
Yeah,
they will just leave.
yeah, artist galleries and
You can
whoever.
also re-edit the entire video, so you put the second part first and the first part
Yeah,
last,
also.
or whatever.
Exactly. I did
Um,
every single
It's
shot.
just
so,
thinking about the audience.
yeah, okay. I'll
Mo,
see.
I am going to put myself in your capable hands with Greg behind you as the, you know, the puppet master. Questions are asked,
I'm a slave.
in what order, and where you want the conversation to go. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
I'm not going to begrudge you any questions you don't ask. I'm not going to be like, well, why didn't Mo ask?
I just know some limits of where, you know, the gray zone, because even the white zone, we don't have time to talk about. I will not go to the gray, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I
We
think
have
stick
plenty of
to,
things to talk about.
like, I mean, maybe like top 5 things that people are going to be interested in, or top, you know, 1, 2, and 3, one for funders, one for artists, and one
Yeah.
for whoever that third audience was, whatever.
Okay.
And then if there's interest, we can always do another video. So
Yeah.
what we really all should be doing is just playing Brawl Stars, because my older child at 13 has 15,000 views in less than a week on one of their videos of them,
Okay.
you know, on like a video that's like 10 seconds long of them just like beating the shit out of someone else on, you know, it's just like a screen view of them just going, "Ah," and it's like, you know, things
Yeah,
explode.
but good luck for him to convert.
Convert. Well, you
Fast.
don't want to convert when you're 13. No.
He doesn't know what to
It's
do with it
illegal to
other than it
convert
makes it feel good.
anything. Yeah.
It just feels good. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
vanity.
No, tell him to give us some views. Shout out. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
I'm gonna send you guys
Thank
his
you.
handle at some point.
Yeah.
It's something funny. His name is Ben, and he's always like, he comes up with a great plays on words, where it's like he was like the Ben DeLorean on one thing, and I
The
forget what,
dentist.
forget what he was on YouTube. It's something ridiculous, equally ridiculous.
The most famous dentist on YouTube is the Bentist. I think also because it's Ben. So he's the Bentist. He's
gonna
the
have to-
dentist, and he's an orthodontist that bend teeth as well. So
Oh,
Bentist.
he's Ambention.
Ah,
Instead of ambition, he's invention.
Okay.
oh, nice.
Yes. Most of his other views, yeah, he has like 14K views on one, and all the rest are like 200, you know. So
Yeah. They have been doing a contest of penicillin eating on TikTok. People going in.
Oh my God.
this is what happened now that we have TikTok again.
You have to
Okay.
take care.
After the Aureo pots, more crazy things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely individuals.
Mm.
Uh,
Bye, Jeff.
I'm so glad that I managed to hop on here.
Yeah. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for your
See you again next month.
Okay.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll write you email about the video.
Bye bye.
Okay. Cheers.
Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao.
Ciao, ciao.